Looking for a short story to put you in the mood for Halloween? Check out these short stories, written by Sean Connaughton. When a mildly abusive man mistreats his bride-to-be on Halloween night, his neighbors decide to teach him a lesson. A lesson he won't soon forget when he finds himself in the witch's hole.
A Seattle detective, Scott Grimes, investigates a string of odd murders. But where this case ultimately leads him, he could never have predicted when he crosses paths with the legal murderer.
Join the Dunn family as they make their way to a vacation home for a weekend trip. However, when the sun goes down, things seem to get just as dark inside as outside. Stay with the Dunns and see if you can make it through the mansion.
These short stories are available all October long on Amazon as paperbacks. Also until December for ebook on Amazon.
Written by the fantasy author, Sean Connaughton.
If you miss out, these stories will be available all year round on Audible and iTunes. So don't miss out and grab your copy today.
Alright, so we are back for the reboot of Child's Play. Now, we didn't do this for the original Child's Play. So it's kind of fitting that at least we're doing one of the Child's Plays. So it'll even out on the thing. But, so this is the reboot. I will tell you, this is a little bit more in line with what Don Mancini wanted to do. It's not exactly what he wanted to do, but he was not a big fan back at the beginning of doing this whole voodoo thing.
Yeah, I do remember you mentioning that a couple times.
So this is kind of a little bit more in line with what he wanted, although it's not exact. And it is a little bit modern.
And I hear that Mark Hamill is doing the whole voice.
Yep.
This time.
Yep. A lot of Chucky fans who actually sat down and said, okay, I'll give it a fair shot. Actually, fans like that don't mind it. It's like, it's its own thing, yes. It's not part of the ongoing franchise.
Well, they got the Joker playing Chucky now.
Yeah. And it's a completely different take. Even though you got some repetitive characters,
And I'm expecting, knowing that it's the Joker being Chucky, I'm expecting a little bit of that, kind of.
Well, Mark Hamill actually came out and said he tried to do a whole new voice for Chucky. It just sounds like Mark Hamill. But I wouldn't say every Child's Play fan likes this. Don Mancini was highly against it. They tried to get Don Mancini to come on board the project. He refused. But they went ahead and made it anyway, because they were about to lose the rights to the first movie. But, for a reboot, most fans say there's been worse reboots. What have you seen that's been rebooted? Do you like reboots? Do you hate reboots? What do you feel about reboots?
There's one Total Recall. I did like that one. I know, and I'm in a minority when I say that, because I know most people don't like the reboot. I did see the original Total Recall first, way back in the day. I didn't really care about it. But when I saw the reboot, which is actually not really a reboot because it's the plot is very different, but I liked it. But I think as far as reboots go, there was one other reboot that I did see. It was with the one girl. the whole thing about that was like just blood and stuff. I can't remember the name. Carrie. I did see that. I don't remember much about it, but I did kind of like that one. That was
Here, let me ask you this.
I did.
Since we've talked about this, the One Piece live action series, would you consider that a reboot?
No, I would not consider that a reboot. I would consider that to be like a reimagining because it's just bringing the whole stuff to live action, and the manga and anime both are still going.
Well, the original timeline for Chucky is still going. The original franchise is still going.
Yeah, that's true, but they're not. To my understanding, they're not trying to redo anything, so they're just bringing it to a different audience.
Well, they kind of do some different things with Chucky. They kind of do some taking it a little bit of a different direction.
But yeah, that's my point. That they are taking it in a different direction. But I'm thinking with the One Piece live action, it'd be like the same direction, mostly. It'd be a lot more condensed.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't really call that a reboot.
Well, there's been some reboots like, the Terminator franchise we've talked about, where they completely wipe away certain movies in the timeline, or they just say, screw the timeline altogether.
Yeah, like...
This does none of that. None of it.
Yeah, the whole thing was like Ghostbusters 2016. I never saw that. I mean, I did see the trailer. I did kind of like the trailer, but I hear the movie is terrible. And from what I've seen of the movie itself, it is pretty bad. But I like the trailer, and I see the trailer is the only good part of it.
It's horrible. I'm really looking forward to the new Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yeah, the new Ghostbusters does look good. As far as reboots go, that is, yeah, I'm just, I just don't know what to think with like reboots, but I think there's too many of them. Pretty soon, everything will have a reboot, and I'm just thinking, okay, stop. I get the point. And, they basically did it with Star Wars in a sense. I mean, I talked to you about this. You kind of disagree, but I think the sequels are essentially a reboot. Even though they do continue the story, it's still a reboot.
See, I think a reboot is where you start the story all new, fresh, kind of like what this does, with the same characters. Like, if they had restarted it with Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader and Princess Leia, but had all new actors playing the characters. To me, that's a genuine reboot.
Well, yeah. I mean, I agree.
But that's enough said. We can talk about this more after we're done. Let's jump right into Child's Play, the reboot. So, you just finished the reboot. What did you think?
I was on the edge of my seat, mostly because I was thinking, since Andy is a bit older, I was just, there's a lot of dumb choices. I'll just start off with that. There was a lot of dumb choices amongst the characters, and this whole thing got started after one guy got fired at the factory. It was a toy factory, right?
Yeah, well, it was a Caslin factory.
Okay. And that one guy, one worker committed suicide after being fired and sabotaging the Buddy dolls, toys, and
Just sabotage the one, but yeah.
the one. And I was just thinking, well, that sucks. And then this is where the characters were really starting to really just cringe. When the death of that one guy that Chucky killed. I was just thinking, really, he brought the freaking skin of that guy's face. Well, I guess that was redundant because the face is skin and all that stuff. So,
well, the thing is that he was trying to copy that movie, Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah. And the one thing that really bugged me is how Andy and his friends went about dealing with that. They just wrapped it up in wrapping paper, and then rather than think of the smart thing and say, "Oh, we want just actually this was a faulty thing, and we want to just get rid of it," he went to just bring it to the neighbors down the hall, and I'm just thinking, come on, kids. I know kids are stupid, but that was especially stupid.
Did you like the upgraded characters at all? The slightly older Andy, the younger mom.
Younger mom, she was fine. The older Andy, they guess he's supposed to be deaf, which, I actually have a brother that's deaf, and I can tell you one thing. This is just a little nitpick. I'm not going to tear apart the movie at this little thing, but my brother is not as responsive as Andy. So,
Well, like I said, I think maybe he's only partly deaf, not that deaf.
well, one thing I know about deaf people is when you are born with a condition like that, it just gets worse.
Well, maybe he wasn't born with it.
Oh, I'm pretty sure he was because of his age. I'm pretty sure he was born with it.
It could have been something that happened to him as a little, really little kid, like a toddler.
Well, that's possible.
Mark Hamill as Chucky. How did he do?
I almost didn't recognize him most of the time. There was a couple times where I did recognize the voice. Especially at the very end, I recognized it. And there was but I think Mark Hamill, he did pretty good with the voice. Definitely got the whole creepy thing going.
Did they do pretty good, even though they left out the voodoo and the killer and everything?
Yeah, and that's one thing I'm not sure how I feel how about how this Chucky actually became a killer because he was, I guess, influenced by all the stuff that was going on. I thought he was going to become a killer just by based off of the one being sabotaged, but I guess he had to get like further external things to influence him.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't like, instant. It was, like you said, it was influence, and they weren't very good influences on him, and, whereas the safety protocols would have protected the doll from being able to perform certain actions, this one had all that removed, so their bad influence allowed. I mean, it's just like having a kid,
Yeah.
You could say this is kind of a cautionary tale of kids should not have kids, and this is why.
Yep, pretty much. What the biggest death, that I was really kind of disappointed about it was the one lady, the neighbor lady. I forget her name.
Doreen.
Yeah, Doreen. Because I do kind of like her. So that was just unfortunate. But the one guy, once I learned what kind of guy he was, I mean, yeah, he was like an asshole. I got no other words to say than just that. I mean, he was like cheating on his actual wife with to go with Andy's mom, which was, and then on top of that, he had the nerve to try to be like Andy's father, which he wasn't. He had no right for that. I mean, heck, and you know what? And she was actually calling him out on that stuff a little bit, and no parent would actually let someone who was just coming into the house that had a kid do that kind of thing, because I think my mom was also the same way when she was trying to get like some boyfriends before she got my stepdad, before she met my stepdad and all that stuff. She was I don't really know the specifics, but I'm pretty sure she was very cautious about how they could really talk to me since they were not my father.
I think that's partly true. I have differences of opinion, but I know that most, single parents share that view, even though I don't. Because, I used to babysit, and my family member that I babysat for would, say, well, you're not their father, you can't yell at them, and it's like, but I'm the sitter. I have to have some control, I have to have some sort of power over the child, or the child can just think they can do whatever they want.
Well, yeah, yeah, you should get, like, some control, but you shouldn't be able to get to the point where you are like a parent, because you are not the parent. You can have some disciplinary control, but not this level of a parent would.
Now, what he was doing in the movie was clearly abuse, and no, I don't condone that, but...
So...
Like I said, differences of opinion. What did you think of the design of Chucky? For modern...
It was a little weird at first, but then I started to get used to it. Like I said, it was just... The whole facial structure was just odd at first, but like I said, I got used to it. I don't know how else to put it.
I think it helps, too, that they kind of help the audience get used to it when they had him, like, practicing creepy faces.
Yeah, that was pretty funny when he was trying to do some of that stuff at first, and then it was starting to go really crazy, and I was thinking, whoa.
Now, we're going to talk about probably the most traumatic death for you. What were your thoughts on the death of Mickey Rooney? The cat.
I mean, that was kind of brutal and unnecessary, and I guess the way the biggest thing I had a problem with was with how Andy ended up dealing with it after the fact. You know, if it was me, I would have smashed Chucky to pieces. And, you know, I probably would have had a bad experience with this, but I would have probably also told my mom and say, hey, cat's dead, and I didn't do it. I don't know, I'm not sure if I would actually say it was Chucky per se, but I'm pretty sure I would handle the situation differently.
So do you think this one at all tries to compare itself to the original? Or do you think it tries to stand on its own?
I think on some level it tries to be like the original, but I also think it tries to stand on its own because this one does not have the voodoo, but it does keep the whole thing about how the whole thing about Andy and, you know, them not trusting Andy, although the biggest surprise was Andy had actually some friends this time around.
Yep, that was one of the big things that a lot of people pointed out, is that this time he has friends in it. They tried to go the whole Stranger Things route.
So that was kind of cool. And when it was getting to the end, I was thinking, okay, how are they going to really be convinced that Andy is innocent? And you know what? I mean, even though a lot of people are witnesses at the end, I feel like no one's going to trust him, just like in the original franchise. Yeah. No one trusted him.
One of the things that I've always noticed, and I don't ever hear a lot of people talk about this really, is, you know, okay, yeah, maybe not all the decisions based in this movie are exactly correct. But one of the biggest problems I personally have with this movie is, so they basically try to get rid of Chucky. They pull his power cord and throw him down the chute. And then suddenly, like a day or so later, somebody left a Buddy doll on Omar's doorstep. And Omar has no idea who it was, but now he's calling his doll Chode, and it's like the people who were just friends with Andy said this to Andy, that Omar got a doll, and they're not even like, wait a minute, we just got rid of Chucky. Are we sure it's not Chucky?
Yeah.
They weren't suspicious in the least. It's like, what is wrong with you people?
Yeah, you know, I did think some of that was odd, but I wasn't sure where that was going to go. I think on some level they knew, but I don't know what to think. But that whole thing was a little weird.
So, are you at least glad you saw this? Is it at least interesting enough to say, yeah, that was okay, I liked it? Or are you already a full-blown original Chucky fan and you're like, nope, this one's stupid, I'm never gonna like it?
Well, there was, you know, with the voodoo and stuff, I mean, Chucky wasn't influenced by anything other than himself, and Andy wasn't. The way the police, that one officer handled the whole situation was a bit too aggressive, because I feel like he was just letting his own personal feelings get there, and then once I saw that he was getting cuffed, then all Chucky was going, started to go full out with everything. He started to lock down the building. He killed one guy, dressed up as a Buddy doll, and I do like the originals better because
it just flows better.
Yeah, and I just think the cops were a little too aggressive. I mean, if it was like an adult, that would make sense, but this is a juvenile, a child. Tackling him as if he was like a full adult. What the hell?
Well, I mean, to be fair though, he just found out his mother was dead.
Yeah, like I said, he let his own personal stuff.
He was already starting to piece together that Andy might have been behind some of the stuff going on.
Well, Andy was definitely involved, but he wasn't responsible.
Well, that's not what I mean. The cop doesn't know that. The cop only knew that. Hey, the Chucky doll. Well, he only knew that the guy who was just found murdered was dating the woman down the hall, and the mother's child is constantly not around, sitting in the hallway and stuff to avoid this guy.
Yeah.
And now that guy's suddenly dead.
But to blame a death on a kid, really?
Hey, there have been kids out there that have killed. I heard a story once where this kid stabbed his mom because she wouldn't buy him some console.
Oh, damn.
I think it was like a Nintendo thingy.
That was okay. I have not heard of any of that. But then again, I don't really pay attention to the news, so I guess who am I to talk? I'm sure there'll be a lot of comments bashing me on that now for being ignorant on that.
Like I said, I don't know the details. It was quite a while back ago. But yeah, there was a story that this kid stabbed his mother because she said no, he couldn't get a console. And he got mad and stabbed her. She didn't die. I don't think she died. But he did actually stab his mother.
Okay, so I guess...
There are some kids out there that do some pretty messed up stuff.
Okay.
But anyways, so that was the Child's Play remake. Did you at least enjoy it? Was it enjoyable?
I wouldn't say enjoyable, but I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was okay. It was a movie.
Let me ask you this. If you just need a quick Chucky fix, is this the one you would throw in for a quick Chucky fix? Or would you sit and watch the entire other 7 movies?
Okay. Now, if I were to... I would definitely pick this over Sea of Chucky. Let's put it that way. If I had those 2 movies in front of me and they said, "Hey, watch one of these," and I would say, "Okay, I'll take the Child's Play remake. You can take that other one away, and don't ever." No, I'll just watch this.
Alrighty. Well, that was the Child's Play remake with Anime Senpai, and link to his channels will be in the description below. And we will talk to you later. Bye.